The Leopard Man statue has for decades been one of the more popular objects in the Royal Museum for Central Africa in Belgium. He stands perched like a spotted Nosferatu over a sleeping figure, preparing to pounce on his innocent prey. Damningly linked with animalistic murder and cannibalism, his reputation precedes him. He is the inspiration for the comic Tintin in the Congo, and one can still purchase a small resin replica of beloved Belgian artist Herge's rendition of him from the online Tintin shop for $200. Most recently, he made an appearance in the 2016 Tarzan movie, helmed by the director of the last 4 Harry Potter films. He is a vision of Black African terror, a cautionary tale of Black duplicity. He's also a lie. Good evening all. My name is Kavita Peterson, and I'm here today to make a case for giving our museums an extreme makeover. I want to acknowledge the hard work that museum curators have been putting into decolonizing our cultural institutions to date, and offer suggestions for further improvement, using a case study from an exhibition in the Royal Museum for Central Africa, which has recently undergone a massive 5-year renovation to decolonize itself and transform into, in its own words, a place of memory on the colonial past, as well as a dynamic platform for exchanges and dialogues between cultures and generations. Let's start with a brief look at the museum itself. The Royal Museum for Central Africa was originally established to convince investors to support then King Leopold II's personal colonial project in the Congo. Part of its original incarnation as an exhibition involved a human zoo containing 267 actual Congolese villagers. The museum was financed by the Belgian Ministry of the Colonies from 1908 until 1960, when the Democratic Republic of the Congo declared independence from Belgium. Despite being a popular destination for Belgian schoolchildren for many decades, very few changes were made to its displays from 1960 to the time it closed for renovation in 2013. So as you can see, it had its work cut out for it when it decided it was time to decolonize. One of the most fascinating sections of the museum's current permanent display, and one which I would like to focus on for this presentation, is an exhibition called Sidelined, which is housed in the basement of the former colonial building. Its function is to educate visitors about the museum's past as an institution which was designed with the express aim of presenting King Leopold II's colonial project in a positive light. A number of sculptures considered to be problematic and removed from the museum's permanent collection during its renovation huddle unceremoniously in the center of the small room. Sculptures originally acquired during the period when the museum was funded by the Belgian Ministry of the Colonies. Now presented in a stark, almost clinically white environment, the objects have not been given descriptive plaques, nor any physical display to explicitly explain the reason for their individual inclusion in this selection of decolonized objects. In place of this, one of several interactive stations can be used to provide some information about the objects if desired. The overall effect is a triumphant statement that the museum is moving on from its racist past. What this exhibition is to me is a great first step. Even though the word decolonization has become something of a buzzword in our industry in recent years, many museums have yet to even acknowledge their past and occasionally ongoing roles as imperial mouthpieces, let alone put it all out on display for everyone to see. Why the Sidelined exhibition is so interesting to reflect upon in this regard is because it shows us a case study of an institution which does appear to believe in the importance of decolonization in the modern museum and has started attempting to engage with the related issues. So, on that note, if the small collection in Sidelined was curated with the aim of educating a Belgian public on the museum's past role in justifying the colonial regime, I can't help but feel that it's presented in this new context very much like an afterthought. Given the lack of text available in the exhibition outside of the interactive stations, in many cases the only explicit reasoning for the allegedly self-evident racism which resulted in each sculpture being consigned to the Sidelined exhibition is the mere fact that they have been put there in the first place. The rest is left up to the guesswork of visitors who may not give it a second thought, or worse, dismiss the exhibition altogether as evidence of political correctness gone mad. Moreover, detailed descriptions and context is provided in the interactive stations for only the most popular objects. Remember the Leopard Man statue? As one of the most prominent objects from the museum's former collection, he is essentially the centerpiece of this display, and he's fortunate enough to get a few paragraphs. But you can't help but wonder if even that text will be enough to help people see the beloved statue in a new, more critical light. For all the museum's good intentions, the potential for profound reflection on the insidious power of objects to justify oppressive regimes, as well as to create or reinforce personal bigotries, is sadly left untapped in this room. Also notable is the absence of the voices of the actual people being depicted in the Sidelined display. The voice of authority in the text of this exhibition is unambiguously that of the curator. This is distinct from the refreshing approach taken in some of the less politically charged sections of the museum. For example, the sections focused on African music and traditional handicrafts feature screens of talking heads from the African diaspora, which convey authority to the peoples who made them over the otherwise clearly white curatorial voice of the museum. We can see that the museum is aware of the benefits of promoting a plurality of voices when it comes to decolonizing cultural institutions. However, it appears that perhaps it is unsure how to achieve this when exploring difficult histories. While it might seem like these criticisms of the Sidelined exhibition are perhaps not worth the focus compared to some of the other efforts of the museum to decolonize, such as their admirable dedication towards provenance research and their various repatriation activities, I would argue that this small room forms one of the more important exhibitions for the museum's current educational context in a country which has only just begun to officially reckon with its past colonial atrocities over the last 5 years. For many in Belgium, coming to this museum will be one of their main opportunities to actually learn about the nation's colonial past in detail. The Sidelined exhibition, a collection of objects that created and reinforced racist stereotypes about Black Africans, could function as an antidote to the lack of formal education about the harsh realities and ongoing impact of the colonial regime, but in its current incarnation falls disappointingly short of that target. So what is there to do with such an exhibition? Do we just admit defeat and take it down? Well, from what I can see, some of the shortcomings of Sidelined might be mitigated if more attention were given to the museum's stated aim to be a dynamic platform for exchanges and dialogues between cultures and generations. At the moment, in this exhibition, there only appears to be one culture doing the talking, and rather than a dialogue, it's merely an optional monologue from the curator to visitor in the form of the interactive stations. If we were to simply lean into what Andrea Whitcomb would call a pedagogy of feeling, we would see the doors swing wide open to the possibility of plural narratives. For example, knowing that the museum has long been a field trip destination for generations of Belgian children, we can safely assume that large numbers of Black Belgian children will have been presented with the objects of the Sidelined exhibition in their original pre-renovation context and experienced their lingering impact. Rather than simply seeing the stagnant objects, imagine a soundscape filling the exhibition space with sound bites of these Black Belgians sharing their diverse perspectives, memories, and feelings about the controversial objects. Imagine visitors not having a choice but to engage with the issues surrounding the objects. Or another idea, imagine if the walls were decorated with a collage of newspaper headlines from the past and the present, reflecting the impact of the attitudes expressed through the objects in this collection, to link what visitors are seeing to the real world. Even just tracing the influence of the leopard man on pop culture today could be an eye-opening experience to many visitors. As facilitators of the museum experience, we can rise beyond linear narratives and mere exposition by instead promoting introspective reflection and meaningful discussion, including about the warts of humanity like our colonial legacies. It's worth noting at this junction that when the Royal Museum for Central Africa reopened its doors post-renovation, it presented itself as a decolonized vision of Africa in the past tense. The question remains though, can a colonial space ever truly be decolonized? Is decolonization an action to be completed, or is it a dialogue to be maintained and progressed over time? Most importantly perhaps, is the immense weight of decolonization a tiresome chore for our institutions to begrudgingly undertake, or is it an opportunity to revitalize museums and maintain their relevance in a rapidly changing world? Obviously I have my opinions on this. I hope you'll be joining me. Thank you.